Hello, everybody, and welcome. My name is Caroline Nickerson. I'm so excited to be speaking with you and to be talking to you during the Citizen Science Fireside Chat. I am from the SciStarter team, and the theme of today's Fireside Chat is Everyone Can Be a Citizen Scientist. It's part of the Earth Summit, so with Artificial Intelligence Los Angeles. I know that it's a really star-studded deck of people who have been speaking to you throughout the entire summit. So I'm really glad that my colleagues and I are able to join and just exhibit the passion we have for citizen science, which is public engagement in real scientific research. Before we get into the specifics of citizen science and how it's relevant for the entire Earth and LA specifically, I'm going to let Vivienne Byrd introduce herself. Vivienne?
Hi, everyone. I'm Vivienne Byrd, and I am the librarian working for the Exploration and Creativity Department of Los Angeles Public Library. And I am the program lead for our STEAM and citizen science, or we call it Neighborhood Science Initiative.
All right, and next up, Theresa, will you introduce yourself?
Hi, I'm Theresa Schwerin with the Institute for Global Environmental Strategies, and we're a nonprofit with the mission of promoting understanding of the Earth through science, observation, and education. And certainly those are all things that citizen science can do, and our citizen science project is Globe Observer.
Awesome. So you may all be wondering, why is this up on my screen? Well, I wanted you to, see all the details of today's fireside chat. But if you look at the very bottom of the screen, you'll see Get Started Real Science Anyone Can Do. The projects and opportunities that Vivienne and Theresa and I speak about today are all featured on this microsite, scistarter.org/Earth Summit, that we made in partnership with the Earth Summit organizers. So if you want to dive in and take action on anything we discuss, this page is your place to go. So I'm going to stop sharing now so you can see all of our faces, but I wanted to put that right there up front so you have the link bookmarked and you're ready to go. So to kind of get us started, citizen science. Citizen science goes by a lot of different names. You can call it neighborhood science, you can call it community science, you can call it public engagement and scientific research. I tend to call it citizen science, but if you hear Theresa, Vivienne, and I call it by any of these different names, just know that we're just talking about ways for you to turn your curiosity about the world into real impact. And I could give examples of a few different projects, but I think the most effective way to do that is to have Theresa talk about the projects that she works on and how you can engage in that. So Theresa, could you give us a quick overview of what Globe Observer is?
Sure. So Globe Observer is part of the International Globe Program. It's a program that's been around for over 25 years. It's in over 120 countries. And it started as a project in elementary and secondary schools, K through 12 schools. And in 2016, we launched the Globe Observer app that opened it up to people outside of school. So the GLOBE program is sponsored by NASA. It's also supported by the National Science Foundation, the National Oceanic and Atmospheric Administration, and the Department of State. And so Globe Observer is part of that bigger GLOBE program. And so using a mobile app, anyone can register with their email to be a Globe Observer in any of those 120 countries, and they can go outside and take observations using 4 tools. And these are all related to monitoring changes in our Earth system. So they can look at clouds from below, looking up at the sky conditions. They can look at land cover, what's covering the land, tree height, and mosquito habitat mapper, which is looking at places where water collects and mosquitoes can breed. And all of these are observations that can either help complement NASA's satellite view, a bigger picture view of the Earth, or help to interpret that imagery. So everything you need is in the app to get started, all tutorials. It walks you through how to make the observations, but it can all be done with a free mobile app on your smartphone.
That is phenomenal. And I think that's one way I really love introducing people to citizen science. I think that specific project example really helps because so at SciStarter, where I work, people come to us when they're looking to reach passionate volunteers like you all. Anyone, anywhere can be a citizen scientist. So you can be a citizen scientist by joining the Globe Observer Project, for example. Basically, citizen science is anything you do to move science forward. So you could be collecting are analyzing data just to propel some sort of research project. So for the Globe Observer program, you're collecting data. And then for a lot of citizen science projects, you also might be analyzing data. One example I like to give is the Stall Catchers project. Stall Catchers asks you to play an online game to analyze blood vessels for researchers at Cornell University investigating Alzheimer's disease. The fact that you can accelerate research just by playing an online game to do analysis blows my mind, and it's so exciting to me. And you can do that anywhere on Earth. And I know that the Los Angeles Public Library, they play a really active role in bringing citizen science to their communities under the moniker neighborhood science. I know that the neighborhood science program that Vivienne works on features Globe Observer really prominently. So I'll let Vivienne briefly describe what she does with neighborhood science. Vivienne?
Thank you. So I can go on for a whole hour with just this. I'll try to tone it down to give it a brief description. So we started our neighborhood science programs, or it's really almost like a sub-initiative as part of our STEAM, or Full Steam Ahead initiative. And we were at this kind of crossroad trying to figure out, this is back in 2018, try to find a way to make our STEAM learning or our STEAM program more purposeful and relevant to the real world. So that's how we start thinking about offering STEAM programs that focus on conservation, environment, and sustainability. So in 2018, we decided to launch a small pilot with this funding coming from the California State Library, and also our foundation helped us out too, and also with EPA partnership. And that's pretty much how it take off. We started with only 13 branches, and now it's being expanded slowly to 20 branches. And just like Caroline was mentioning, one thing we keep on highlighting is that we want to let people know that anyone like you, me, who are not having this scientific background can take part in real scientific research developed by, let's say, led by NASA or Cornell or any other prestigious research institutions. You really don't have to be an A student in a science or math class, and you don't need to have that science degree. So you just need to be curious about things that's around you. So that's one thing we've been constantly telling people. And the best part about citizen science is oftentimes you don't need any special observation tools or instruments to conduct these observations for scientists. You just need, most of the time, just your cell phone, your mobile phone, your mobile device with internet connectivity. And as I mentioned, we've been expanding on partnership. Partnership plays a huge part in terms of growing our citizen science or neighborhood science pilot program. Our first one was really, thank goodness, that we found GLOBE, which stands for Global Learning and Observation to Benefit the Environment. They were the one who trained our small army, very small, literally about 15 librarians to kick off this pilot. And they gave us this really rigorous training on how to really step-by-step doing all these protocols to make sure we collect the useful and accurate data for scientists in NASA to be able to use them. And then from there on, we expanded, and I met Caroline in the one of the conferences, and that really just opened up my world. Really, it's just like the whole world of citizen science just like landed in my face. So since then, we have been continue to work with NASA GLOBE. We now have SciStarter on our side. We have Environmental Protection Agency, and now our latest two biggest partner is air quality team from the LA Mayor's Office of Sustainability and Department of Sanitation and Environment. And also we have another air quality related partnership with SafeCast. So it just keeps on growing. But and we also want to make sure that our neighborhood science program aligns to, because we want to get more students, be it teen, middle school, elementary school kids to participate. So we work really hard to align all of our materials to the next generation science standards and also California environmental principles and concept. So to focus on strengthening and enhance students' environmental literacy. Like I said, I can go on and on, but very quickly, we do develop this DIY, do-it-yourself neighborhood science kits. We have 6 different topics that they they should have been available in our 20 branches, but because of the pandemic, we couldn't circulate any of them right now. But I just want to put this out there. So in case if you guys are interested, please go to these 20 branches, or you can call them to reserve these kits. The topics are air quality, cloud observations from GLOBE, exploring biodiversity from iNaturalist, with iNaturalist, light pollution measuring, mosquito habitat mapping, and air quality monitoring. And just very quickly, I'm just going to say that, so starting from just a very small idea of just to expand our STEAM learning goals, it now grows into really our goal has changed. It's become a lot more ambitious, is that we really want to empower Angelenos to learn about the science and impact of many pressing global issues, including changing climate. So they can, every one of us, doesn't matter where you live, whether you're in the underserved communities or, you know, more the haves of communities, all of us can make that informed and sound health and environmental decisions for your neighborhood, for your family, and even for your own well-being.
I think that's such a good segue because and those are such amazing points, Vivienne, because the Globe Observer protocol that I do the most is Mosquito Habitat Mapper. I think it really dovetails nicely with how you were talking about the intersections between health and environment. So Theresa, could you take it? Let's say I'm a volunteer. Maybe I'm around 30 years old or so, living in Los Angeles. Walk me through the process of participating in Globe Observer Mosquito Habitat Mapper. I've never done it before.
Okay, first thing you would do is download the app and you register using your email, and then you log in. And it will take you through step by step. It starts with where you are, and it puts on a map what your geographic location is, your latitude and longitude, the date and time is automatically recorded, and you can drag that around if you're in a little bit different place from that. And then it takes you step by step. You know, do you see a water source like in a container, in a flower pot, in a, you know, trash, a toy in the yard? These little places, something as small as like a bottle cap is a place where a mosquito can lay her eggs and it can breed, right? So to find those habitats, take a picture of them with your phone and pick out what that habitat is. Is it a natural or a man-made source? And then if you can, if it's a man-made source, to get rid of that water. And that does, you know, a couple of things just right there. It tells scientists where these mosquitoes are breeding. And it also makes your community safer because you're getting rid of that standing water. If you want to go further, you can take a sample of the water. You can count if you see larvae. We're asking people to look for mosquito larvae. That's a really important point. These are very immature form of mosquitoes. They're really tiny. They're like maybe 1/4 of an inch big. They don't transmit disease. They don't bite. We ask people to be careful. Take care anytime you're outside when mosquitoes are biting. But the samples we're asking people to collect, they don't spread disease. They don't bite. They can't hurt you. But if you can take a sample, count the number of larvae, and if you want to go further, you can take a small clip-on microscope that magnifies these 60 to 100 times so that you can see, take pictures of the features to do the identification, to identify whether your larva is one of the 3 mosquito genus that spread the most diseases. So whether it's Aedes, Culex, or Anopheles. And then send those pictures in. It walks you through a key to identify, and then you would upload your data to the GLOBE database, and it's free and available for anyone to use. Now, we've got a really exciting opportunity coming up. We have a scientist that we're working with at University of South Florida who's working on a National Science Foundation project to develop an AI machine learning algorithm to identify mosquito larvae, to do that automatically. And to do that, we need lots and lots and lots of photos to train that algorithm. So we've got a real science need for these photos. And so later this summer, we're going to have a community challenge where we want to get as many people out there looking for the larvae, and taking photos of them with their iPhone, with their smartphone, and sending those in. And we're going to partner with Vivienne and her group to see if we can get scopes to the Los Angeles area for people who want to be our volunteers to do this. But it's a real science need that can help your community.
That is phenomenal. And I love that you can do this project from anywhere, but so anyone watching, go to scistarter.org/Earth Summit, and you can find everything you need to download the Globe Observer app, to learn more about the project, some additional videos about Globe Observer Mosquito Habitat Mapper, as well as other Globe Observer protocols. So even though you can participate as an individual, one reason I really love working with libraries is people like Vivienne are natural community leaders, and they help make it easy for you to get started. So Theresa just mentioned the partnership that she has with the Los Angeles Public Library as a researcher. Vivienne, could you walk us through how you engage folks in the neighborhood science program, and maybe try to make it real for us and tell us some stories about it?
Sure. So I think before, I'm going to talk, this is like more like a before and after pandemic, because it makes huge difference. So again, everyone know that public library is one of the most, I would say that one of the most trusted institutions in the local communities. And you can see that from the way that from the type of participants that we get in our branches. We were just really talking about this last week about how, when we're talking about STEAM programs, 90% of the time we said, well, most people are like, oh, we end up getting more boys. We don't have enough girls coming to our programs. Why is that? We never have that issues in the public library, at least not in LAPL, I know. We were just looking back in all of our data since 2012, where we start launching STEAM programs for the first time. And I can honestly say this, almost every single STEAM program we have in the 73 location we have throughout the city, we almost always have more girls participating than boys. It's like 52 to 54% girls and 46 to 48% of boys. So that's something we're really proud of. So, I think we naturally have that power of really engaging people, bring them into the doors and participate. So we thought that we can do the same with citizen science or neighborhood science program. And so what we did is, again, we have a very strong tie into the STEAM education. So what we always do is we start our program with a hands-on. Everything is always hands-on. I've been using this quote over and over. It's from Benjamin Franklin, and it is, tell me and I forget, teach me and I remember, involve me and I learn. So we want to involve them so they learn, and it doesn't just like, I remember, but vaguely, once you learn, it is yours and you can use it anywhere. So that's really our model here. And so we bring them in, you do hands-on STEAM activity, a very simple activity to teach you the science behind, say, a different type of global issues or climate change related challenges. So one we did is we do a simple STEAM activity on teaching them about rising sea level, super simple, like you could do it in 5 minutes. Once they understand that concept, then we move on and talking about citizen science, like how they can involve in saving our planet and what we can do. And then that's when we bring in the citizen science project. And we've been tying them to different types of projects related to that. And so that's like all together. And of course, we would always talking about related to the DIY kits that we have. So in case there are people who just not very actively wanted to participate in the in-branch programs, we let them know, you don't have to do anything while you're here, or even if you don't want to be here in the program, we do have these kits you can check out for 3 weeks. You can learn everything. It has instructions. It's all fact-checked by Globe, for instance, that, make sure all the information steps, everything is correct. And then, you could do it at your own time, at your own pace. And so that's how we created in terms of the ways that people can participate. So that's fairly realistic. Now, after the pandemic, broke out, we have basically moved everything to virtual world, and it really opened up to even more channels and opportunities to reach out, to reach more audiences. And, Caroline can speak to this. All of our virtual programs are having participants coming from all over the world, literally. We get this share every quarter from our IT department. They would tell us we have participants from our virtual meetings or virtual programs from Australia, from Asia, from Africa, and from UK. And I was just going to share with Theresa today, because we are going to host a program on April 16th to promote and talk about the community tree challenge that NASA Globe is championing. And we have actually several participants coming in from UK. They registered. So it's really, really exciting.
Yeah, I think that's a good clarification to make, because I know Globe Observer isn't just in the US. Theresa, could you tell us a little bit about the reach?
Well, Globe Observer is in over 120 countries, and you need to be in a Globe country. These are bilateral agreements between the United States and that country. But if you go to globe.gov and look under the community section, you can find a map showing all the countries where it is. Yeah, so lots of opportunities to get involved in. And the webinar on the 16th, I think, is at 4 o'clock Pacific time, Vivienne?
Yes.
Okay, you can learn more about the Trees Community Challenge. And one thing I wanted to note with these community challenges that we're holding, data collection is one aspect to it, but we want to have lots of ways for people to engage and to learn about and to create. So you can get involved in all kinds of ways. If you can't go outside or you don't want to go outside and collect data, there are a lot of different ways that you can get involved in really fun ways. So if you can come on Friday, you can hear from the scientists directly and learn how to do the tree observations. Very cool. You can measure a tree height using your phone. That is cool. And so we're really, really so glad to be working with Vivienne and her team and the Neighborhood Science Program. They help us in so many ways to engage your community.
And I want to add this real quick, is that Globe Observer, the app, is amazing. You can change the language setting. It's more than just English. You could do it in Spanish, and I haven't really checked all the languages yet, but right now I know for sure you can do it in Spanish. So we've been working with Globe as well to translate the activity trackers and all these stuff that ties into the tree challenge into multiple languages. So definitely, if you are, I know this is being on everybody's radar right now about diversity, inclusion, and equity. So this is one app that's out there. It is definitely workable for people speaking different languages. And you're talking about inclusion. That's it.
100% agree. And citizen science is, I think, an inclusive field by design. At SciStarter, so it's Citizen Science Month right now for SciStarter. So we do citizen science every single day of the year. But April is our excuse to kick things up a notch and take it to the next level. It's basically our Super Bowl right now for citizen science. And we recently had an event where we had a citizen science speaker from every continent, including Antarctica. So there's citizen science in every continent of this earth, about everything from astronomy to biodiversity, to health, to zoology, and everything in between. If there is a science for it, there is a way for you as a member of the public to be meaningfully involved, no matter your background or your level of education or where you happen to be in the world. As long as you can follow the instructions or the protocols, you can get started. And you both have mentioned a little bit about the learning inherent in citizen science. And I think that could be something that we could talk about a little bit. Because when you participate, you're creating knowledge for the earth. You're collecting data or analyzing data to answer some sort of scientific question, create some sort of new insight that hopefully helps all of us and just makes the world a better place through knowledge. But the best projects, Globe especially, they design for learning. So you potentially learn something new as you participate. So maybe Theresa, could you tell us a little bit about what folks might learn as they participate in any of the Globe Observer protocols?
Absolutely. So if you go to our website, and you can get to it through the SciStarter link that Carolyn has shared, but it's on observer.globe.gov. We've got a lot of content there and activities. So if you are leading informal education programs, whether you're a librarian or you're at a science center or a museum, a nature center. We've got a toolkit for informal educators that is packed with activities and background information and resources that you can use in putting together your program. If you're an individual citizen scientist coming in, you can go to a section of the website and you can learn more about the science. We've got lots of videos, tutorials, the scientists talking about why they want this data so you can understand why it's important to them. There is a lot of not just content, but activities, and you can get to the data. The data is open access. Anyone can access and use it. We just had one of our high school student interns, who was part of our virtual internship last summer, publish a paper that related to Globe Observer that's in a student journal, a peer-reviewed paper in a student journal by one of our high school students. We're starting to get more publications related to the data. And we had something really exciting recently where on one of our webinars, one of our partners is with the CDC on our NSF project that USF is leading. And she was looking at the data, and she looked at some of the data in Senegal. And one of our scientists thought, well, this data is such an outlier, it can't be right, but it's in there. And she looked at that and said, oh my God, this is confirming what we were finding, this particular kind of mosquito that you don't normally find in containers. We were finding that, and that's helping to confirm that. So they're really making an important contribution to science.
That's phenomenal. Vivienne, maybe you can tell us some of, because I know you're a citizen scientist extraordinaire. You've done so much citizen science at this point. Could you tell us about some of the things you might have personally learned about the world through doing citizen science?
Oh, I have so many. Okay. I'm going to tell you one thing I did after I got involved with citizen science. I mean, talking to Caroline, talking to the founder of SciStarter from Darlene Cavalier, and always exchanging information with them is always eye-opening, and you always get so much. But after I got involved with go through that whole crazy 4-day rigorous training for Globe, the following, pretty much, I think 2 weeks after, I took a trip to Antarctica, actually. And what I did was I brought a Hubble, the Hubble, I think what they call it, it's like a temperature gauge. I can't remember the name already, but it's the Hubble device that it allows you to measure the temperature, in Antarctica. And it's a little tiny device, and you just hang it anywhere. And so I asked the captain of the ship, said, hey, can I hang this outside on your, anywhere else out, like around on the deck? And he said, sure. He's like, what is it for? I said, I'm just collecting some stuff for a citizen science project. I want to see the temperature change as we travel through the Antarctica, getting to the polar circle. And he's like, oh, sure, cool. But interesting, they weren't thinking about incorporating the citizen science as part of their program. But I think I gave them the idea, and the manager told me that next time they will probably try to find something to do, related to it. But I did that for the whole entire 10-day, actually 14 days down there. We brought it back, I plugged it in. I'm not kidding. We were there, and one of the days was probably like the warmest day, and it was literally 2 degrees, about 2 degrees Celsius. So, and they were telling me, typically it gets really cold in Antarctica, of course, but they were telling that because of that, then even the captain was telling me about the global change, the climate change and the global warming stuff. And they were just telling us how things are different. So it gives you a way to, really engage in different conversation. You learn so much that way. And in addition to that, I've been playing with different citizen science. I call it playing because it really feels like you're playing citizen science project. For example, I am no way close to any like a biologist or something. I literally flunked my biology class, just so you know, in high school. I hadn't retake the class. So I didn't grow up liking science or math, but because I got involved in playing the game called Folded, it was about folding the proteins. I learned a whole gamut about protein folding and how, you know, all these things related to proteins in our bodies and how these folding things can do to helping scientists finding, in fact, treatments for cancer, for HIV, for Alzheimer's, and even COVID-19. I thought that was just amazing. And I never thought about wanting to become a scuba diver. And I am a step away from getting my license after I played with NASA's NEMONet, their citizen science project. And of course, I do have a friend who is a underwater photographer, and he is a huge champion. You know, he's a huge activist related to the ocean pollution issues. So both of them got me into it. So now I'm really close to getting my diver license. Go on and on.
Oh my gosh, yeah, it seems like citizen science has really enriched your life. So, you know, you're learning new things about the world, and you're also moving research forward across a whole host of issues, everything from understanding what is in our oceans to the Globe Observer protocols, to health projects. It's really phenomenal.
Yep.
So the number one question I get at SciStarter is, what if I do something wrong? Will I mess up the research, ruin the project? If I accidentally send a picture of my feet to Globe Observer instead of the standing water, will the whole project be destroyed? So maybe, Theresa, what would you say to a person who might be nervous about getting started with citizen science?
Relax. We want you to engage. We check the photographs to make sure, you know, we have someone manually checking them. We've got someone working on an AI to make sure, so don't worry about that. You know, it's all part of the scientific process. And if there are outliers, you know, maybe it's that the data is not the best, or maybe you're finding something that no one else found. And so, you know, one of the scientists that I work with, has said, you know, observation, it's a skill and you have to do it to get better at it. So just start where you are and you'll get better as you do it more and more. And, you know, I always am promoting my project that I love going on SciStarter and seeing other projects. So if our project isn't your cup of tea, there's bound to be something on SciStarter that you would enjoy doing.
Yeah, so the SciStarter Project Finder, I think, is a good time to mention the capabilities. There are over 3,000 projects, events, and tools listed on SciStarter that folks like Theresa have added for you to discover. So you can select different fields. You can say, I want a project focused on outer space. Or you can also search by activity. I want a project that I can do from home or on a hike. Or you can also search by age group. Maybe you're a retiree and you have grandkids. You can say, I want projects for K through 5. Or if you're an educator, you can search for projects where they have classroom materials to kind of augment those learning outcomes. Because you can do citizen science in a lot of different settings. You can do it by yourself as an adult volunteer. You could do it in conjunction with a group of students and try to teach them something along the way. The possibilities are kind of endless. And yeah, Theresa, I do think Globe Observer, I think that's one of the most popular projects out there because it's so accessible, so fun. My favorite protocol, I love the mosquito habitat mapper so I'm a Floridian. Actually, last time I was in Los Angeles, I was at Vivienne's library. I was doing Globe Observer with people. So we're really having a full circle moment here. But I love the mosquito habitat mapper project because in Florida, we have a lot of standing water. Mosquitoes are a public health issue. And I love doing that project because I feel like I'm making a difference by creating that knowledge. But another protocol I love is the clouds one for Globe Observer, because, you know, as you're identifying those clouds, it takes me back to learning about the different cloud types, and the app really steps you through it. So if you're like me and Vivienne and you didn't really like science in school, you can kind of rediscover it and fall back in love with it by doing the Globe Observer projects, because it's all the fun of identifying clouds without worrying that you're going to fail a test.
And that is such a good point. I will admit too, I was not a big science person, and I love science now and learning about things. So, you know, it's definitely a way to bring people in wherever they are. And so I look at clouds in a very different way now. When I'm out walking the dog and I see something interesting, I pull out my phone and I take a quick cloud observation. So.
Yeah, well, and I think a big conceptual innovation with citizen science is it shows folks that science is a tool to learn something about the world. It's a way of thinking. It's a way of discovering new things. So we all associate, I think, science with memorization and, you know, being evaluated at school and grading, but citizen science isn't like that. If you have to use a school metaphor, we're pretty much in the biggest group project there could possibly be. We're leveraging the power of the crowd to learn something new about the world through science. That being said, I want to pivot back to the neighborhood science program. Vivienne, what's next for it? What should folks be on the lookout for? I know you and Theresa have an upcoming event this Friday, but what else is going on in neighborhood science land?
We have this one big thing really coming up for the city of LA. We are in this partnership with LA's Department of Sanitation and Environment to really help them, I wouldn't say improve, but to make their biodiversity index more reliable. So it's still in the planning process, so you guys are going to be the first one hearing about this. We will be launching this on starting June 7th, is the LA City's own very first ones, the BioBlitz Challenge. And it will run from June 7th all the way to August 7th. And our goal is really to help the biodiversity team in the LA Department of Sanitation and Environment to fill the data gaps. Because what they found out is, as they were working on compiling this biodiversity index, they noticed a lot of areas have not been observed, there's no data at all. And this is something I never really thought about until I talked to people in the Sanitation and Environment Department, is that LA itself is really what they call the biodiversity hotspot. We have so many amazing wildlife in the city of LA that people don't even know about. I know you all hear about bobcat because, you know, you typically hear about it in the negative way because they were hurting somebody and they were on the news. But in reality, there's researchers and scientists in the department that they're tracking these wildlife. And I wanted to say that the biodiversity index that they've created also contribute to the passing of the overpass building over the 101 freeway. So now we actually have, this would be the second one, I think, in California that actually we call it the crossing for wildlife. So, you know, that is the power of citizen science, you know, that if we all contribute even just one bit of data, people out there are using our data, you know, the city planner, the urban planner, the scientists and researchers. So, you know, I know everyone talk about, oh, we want to save our planet, we want to make our world better. And, you know, oftentimes you talk about people. I'm not trying to say, you know, recycling is not enough, but there's more we can do. And I've been telling even my family, you know, besides recycling, besides writing to the policy makers, there's something in between we can do. And that is to participate in citizen science, because those data are evidence. And we're living in a world of data right now. Only data speaks louder than, sometimes it could be even louder than pictures. So that's what I noticed. So, you know, your participation, that is the way for people to know what's happening in your community and what, you know, like we've been talking about climate change, how climate is changing in how that is impacting your community. The data would let people know. So really, if you can, I'm telling everyone, please, please, please think about participating in citizen science.
That is such an important point. And, you know, what I think about when anyone thinks about these really big issues like sustainability and climate change, they can be overwhelming. And this gives you a way to do something concrete that's meaningful. And so I agree, absolutely agree.
And one thing we notice is when I talk to people, oftentimes what I heard is, oh, well, the ice is melting, but it's not next to my house. It's all the way happening in polar regions, you know, or, well, I don't live by the beach. I'm not in the beach community. I wasn't the one who threw the trash on you know, at the beach. So it wasn't me who's causing the ocean pollution. But people didn't know that until they, like, for example, my mom, she had no clue how the trash would end up in the ocean until I get her to play on the marine debris tracker citizen science app. And she's like, oh, that's cool. And all of these citizen science project apps do have the educational piece in there. So you can learn a lot of stuff about it.
This is awesome. Yeah, and I know we only really have time for one more question, but for those watching, if you're inspired today, I hope you find one of these ongoing research projects to continue to. You can get started with Globe Observer, for example, through the Los Angeles Public Library's Neighborhood Science Program. And all that info is available for you at scistarter.org/Earth Summit. But for my last question, I always love to ask this, and I think I'll start with Theresa. What's something about this work that has surprised you in this realm of citizen science?
You know, I don't know that I'd say it surprised me, but I would say it really made me hopeful and feel really good about the future. And as part of developing the mosquito habitat mapper, we worked with some schools down in Brazil and Peru as part of the USAID Zika Grand Challenges. And so we were actually piloting and working with schools down in those countries. And as part of our evaluation, the evaluators went down there to the small town in Peru, and they started interviewing the parents and the teachers and the students. And this story I just love. In this small town, the mayor was telling people, we don't have any mosquitoes here. The kids went home from school, were talking to the parents about what they were doing with the mosquito habitat mapper and what things they could do around the house. And they said, of course we have mosquitoes, we have the data. They made an appointment with the mayor, the parents, the teachers, and the students to show their data, and it made a policy change. It might sound small, but in one place it's surprising that you find mosquito larvae in cemeteries, places where people have flowers. Well, they changed that so that you had to use a styrofoam holder for the flowers. That to me is just a beautiful story, and it really shows the power of citizen science.
Oh, my heart's happy. Oh my gosh, it really should. You can really make a difference. Data-informed decisions. We love data-informed decisions.
Absolutely.
Vivienne, what about you? What's something about your citizen science journey that surprised you?
We always hear about parents and teachers say, well, I don't know how to tell kids about climate change. I don't know how to tell them about the world is ending because we are not doing our parts. You don't have to tell them, really. If you involve them in citizen science, they see it for themselves. And my whole journey since 2018 taught me one thing, is that kids know way more than you do as an adult. Oftentimes when we're asking questions in the programs, it's always the kids that raise their hands and said, well, I know that the ice is melting and it's hurting the polar bears. And they're the one who's telling their parents that it's not because ice melting the seawater level rises. It's really because the molecules expand. That's why the sea level rises. And then you look at them, the parents like, wow, I didn't know that, So really the best way to learn to know about what your kids know about the world is get them involved in citizen science. And as an adult, I'm constantly getting surprised. And I have to tell you this because I hear this all day long, is including myself. The parents would tell me, man, if we had these programs in the library back in the days, in the 70s, in the 60s, we all going to be scientists or doctors by now. So that's the power of learning together. And that's really what I see as power of citizen science or STEAM programs. Yeah, it doesn't have to be in schools. Yeah.
It's all ages too. Like one example is, so for the Stall Catchers project that we've been mentioning, the Alzheimer's research project, I was on it the other day and I was looking at the leaderboard and my Aunt Joan was on there. I had no idea that she had been participating in citizen science and moving Alzheimer's research forward. So you really can get started no matter how old you are, where you are on Earth, you can get started. But for those of you who are in Los Angeles in particular, I am jealous of you because you get to benefit from the neighborhood science program. But as Vivienne said, you can be anywhere in the world and attend their online programs. So pretty much anybody wins. You can participate in Globe Observer, move science forward that way. You can get involved in the neighborhood science program by looking at some of their programming and the kits they have and all the opportunities to participate. And then there's also SciStarter, where you can search over 3,000 different opportunities. So I'm going to share my screen one last time. I want you all to get started with real science and turn your curiosity into impact. This is my challenge to you. So go to scistarter.org/Earth Summit and get started today. Thank you so much, Theresa and Vivienne.
Thank you.
Thank you.